National 5 students, let's do this past paper question together. Now this question is the scientific literacy question, which we will find in every past paper of recent years. You will get one in your paper this year. And it's usually a short extract from a scientific study where they give you some of the background and some of the information and results as well. And what you have to do is use that information to answer the questions that follow. Okay, so in a study, scientists interviewed 350 British athletes competing in different sports, including cycling, swimming, rowing, athletics, football, hockey and rugby. Approximately half of these athletes have tooth decay compared to a third of adults the same age. The study shows that these athletes put more effort into looking after their teeth, with 95% of them brushing their teeth twice a day compared to 75% of the general public. Only 21% of the general public floss their teeth regularly compared to 44% of the athletes. The study also showed that smoking rates in the athletes were found to be lower and overall diets were better compared to the general public. However, 88% of elite athletes used sports drinks, 56% used energy bars and 72% used energy gels frequently during training and competitions, said one of the researchers, adding that the sugar in these products increases the risk of tooth decay and the acidity increases the risk of tooth erosion. Okay, so lots of info there. Now what I would do is I would be looking specifically at numbers and looking to underline or highlight these numbers, because it's likely in this type of question that you're going to be asked about that data at some point. Okay, so it's worth having that handy. Probably a highlighter is a bit nicer than just underlining it, but whatever you have to hand, okay? And also things like here, it mentions a half of tooth decay compared to a third of adults at the same age, okay? So interesting stuff. The scientists were surprised to find that elite athletes have more tooth decay than the general public. Use information from the passage to explain why this was unexpected. So there's lots you could pick out from the passage here to explain this finding, okay? For example, the fact that athletes put more effort into looking after their teeth, okay? So it mentions that up there. So athletes put more effort into looking after teeth. Okay, or you could say something like athletes were more likely to brush their teeth twice a day. Okay, so they're more likely to brush their teeth twice a day. We can see that here compared to the general public. The fact that they floss their teeth regularly. Okay, 44% of athletes floss their teeth regularly, only 21% of the general public. The fact that the smoking rates in athletes were lower, okay, so smoking rates were lower, that would be an acceptable answer too. And the fact that the overall diet were better in athletes as well. So there's a number of things you could have picked out there to get the answer for this particular one, okay. Part B, calculate how many of the athletes flossed regularly. Okay, so it mentions here that 21% of the general public floss their teeth regularly compared to 44% of the athletes. So we know that it's 44%, and we know that the total number we've underlined at the top here is 350. Okay, so we're working out 44% of 350. Now there's a couple of ways that you can work out 44% of something. You can either do 350 times by 0.44, okay, so 350 times by 0.44. Okay, we're converting 44% into decimal, so that would give you 154. Or we can do it the long way around, where we get 350, we divide it by 100 to get 1%, and then we times it by 44 to get 44%. But either method will end up with the same answer, okay, of 154. Now, the thing to think about with percentages as well is think about how sensible the number sounds. If there's 350 athletes in total and 44%, that's just under half of them, are flossing regularly, you'd expect a number that's around about just under half of 350. So, you know, a quick check on that, 350, you'd find that's what, 175. So you're looking for a number that's just a little bit less than 175. So 154 sounds good to me. Suggest the reason why this study may not be valid. Okay, why would this study potentially not be valid? Well, we know that validity is to do with variables, okay? Remember VAVA. So therefore, something to do with variables. Now, it mentions here things like smoking, like diet, like the gels and energy bars that they use, like how many times they brush their teeth a day, how many times they floss, all of these things, and a wide variety of sports as well there. All of these things are variables, okay? And in this case, there are, I'm just going to add this in here, there are too many variables to control, okay? There is way too many variables in this study to actually control, and that's why it might not be valid, this study. Okay, you could say too many variables to control, the variables were too difficult to control, not all the variables were controlled, or something along those lines, okay? But something that relates to variables, as soon as you see the word validity or valid, think VAVA, which is variables, okay? So your answer will involve variables. And in this case, there's just too many variables for us to potentially control in this study. Okay, 11D. We've got the nutritional content of a sports energy bar, the Energy Blast. Okay, sounds delicious. We've got the content here, the mass per 100 grams of fat was 20, sugars 35, proteins 35, and other is 10. We have to use the information to complete the pie chart, and if we need another pie chart, it's at the end. Okay, hopefully we won't need another one. Now, with a pie chart, it doesn't come up all that often in an exam, but just in case it does happen to come up for you, let's talk about how we would answer this particular question. So we need to count how many sections there are on the pie, okay? And a quick count from me suggests there's going to be 20, right? 20 sections here, which means that these numbers have to be out of 20 overall, okay? Now, if we have a look at the total number here, we get 35 and 35, which is 70, plus 10 is 80, plus 20 is 100, okay? So if we've got 100 and there's 20 sections here, that means each section has to be worth 5, okay? 100, which is the total here, divided by the 20 sections that we've got there, is equal to 5, okay? So each section on this pie is worth 5. Now fat, which is our first one here, is 20. 20 divided by 5 is equal to 4, okay? So 4 sections for the fat, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and apologies for not using a ruler there, and I'll label this fat as well, okay? The next section is sugar, which is 35. 35 divided by 5 will give us 7. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we'll be looking to put our sugar in here. And of course you would use a ruler in the exam. Protein's the same. It's going to be divided by 5, which is going to be equal to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's going to be like that. Okay, we've got protein there. And lastly, we've got other. Other is worth 10. 10 is 2 times 5, so that's going to go in here. Okay, and that's how we do our pie chart and we get our 2 marks. Okay folks, hope that was helpful. See you in the next one.